Okay, so right now we're going to take a look at the Ascension. So a lot of schools of thought have this, where like a certain number of people sort of go through this portal, I guess, and then end up in like the higher vibration. So 144,000 is that the number that you have heard?
Yeah.
I am here with my friend again, and we're taking a look at the Ascension. Is this a thing? You know, it shows up in a few different schools of thought, which means that it, could be a thing. So give me a random word.
Rainbow.
And a number.
33.
Well, our root card is the world, and it has a portal on it. So let's just see what the main card is. All right. So right away, with the world on the bottom. So the first thing about the world is this is a card of completion. Okay, so theoretically, if there is an ascension, first there would have to be completion. Now, what happens in the world? Here are the beasts that she fought along the way because she just went all around the world and came back to the place that she started from. And now the beasts are her pets, right? So it would basically show us sort of mastering the things that we would normally have to fight, mastering our demons, so to speak. Now, with the completion comes the fucking portal. So the first thing that the world would say to me is that the literal ascension going through the portal is probably a real thing. But first, it would come with completion. Now, the main card, we get the King of Cups. And the King of Cups is the master of the emotional exchange. The King of Cups is a merchant, but they're an emotional merchant, so they don't give emotional energy to anything that doesn't replenish them, or give them at least as much back as they give. So it would show control over emotions and emotional exchange that would probably come out of this sort of completion. Now, I just want to look at this, and before we even go deeper into this, I want to see, okay, so this shows that it's probably a thing. Is this a reasonable thing that a human being could fucking do? Or is this going to take 10 million lifetimes, right? So, and we get the Fool. Now, okay, so the Fool, no fear, no expectation. For the Fool to show up in this case, so this is the first card of tarot, and this is the last, but the Fool means that, well, now that I think about it, because we have the Fool in the world, is it a reasonable thing? This basically says that we kind of just came from it. We did ascend, which is why we're here. In that respect, it's definitely something that a human being could do. And I feel like openness and not trying to project too much fear into your world is kind of how it would work. But the Fool would tell me it is possible because it's probably how we got here to begin with. Okay, now where do we go from this point? I mean, one of the things, what they say, right, is that 144,000 people will just ascend, but no more than 144,000 people. And for some reason, that number. So what I can do is take a look and see if there's any validity to that specific number. Um, so the card that comes out is the Page of Pentacles. This is the open-minded student. Um, there's nothing in this card that I would read that would say that it has anything to do, like the Page of Pentacles doesn't even have a number, right? So we've got this little gauge that he's got on his like tube there, I guess, his chest tube, which is something about like inner pressure, I suppose. But I would not take this as a card that would have anything to do with numbers whatsoever. What do you think about that?
Does the Page of Pentacles, is he able to build and create things?
For sure. Now,
I would say that maybe it's, if there's no number included, then it may indicate that whoever would like to create that destiny for themselves.
right. And what happens here, you can see the nuts and bolts down on the ground, but the Page of Pentacles literally built themselves out of shit that they found along the way, right? And here it's not a bolt or a nut or whatever, it's a pentacle that they found, and they're like, damn. They know how powerful this is going to be as they incorporate it into who they are. So this is more just about taking advantage of what you come across on your path, fully incorporating the things that you find in your life into yourself. Um, the only way that I would read that as it being a specific number is like if the energy needs a certain number of people, almost like a machine that is being built out of like all of these spirits, that's the only way that I would see that to be true. But theoretically, then another 144,000 people could do the same thing because the energy would collectively build a machine, right? Um, so I don't think it's like the chosen ones, you know, uh, or anything like that. Okay, so where do we go from here?
We could maybe explore, besides, mastering your emotions and conquering your demons to enter the portal, like how can you tell that you're on the right path? Because I think that the whole ascension thing can quickly become like this dissociation from material form. So how can you tell that you're on the path?
Well, the card that we get is the Five of Swords. So this is the troll, right? This is the one that is just trying to piss you off. Now, the way that I kind of see this is like the Five of Swords is kind of outside of the bubble. On the right path, when we go back looking at mastering your emotions, I mean, do you allow yourself to be trolled? Do things make you really fucking angry? And maybe as you get closer to not falling for that shit or not letting yourself become angry or trolled. I mean, this also would show a release of ego to some degree, because if you are strongly centered in ego, then you can be trolled, and manipulated. So maybe this is just showing like this stuff sort of being pushed out there. And like if someone walks up to you and says, I think you suck. Does that bother you?
Right.
And if it bothers you, you are not on the right track. If you know who you are, that shit will never bother you. So I mean, that makes sense to me. as far as how you know you are on the right track toward ascension. In just the fact that you can be sort of zen, or like at least understanding who you are within yourself enough that other people's fucking dickish words don't have an effect.
And is that a truce flag?
It is. So the people of the city have surrendered, which is why they're flying the white flag. And here, the person knows that. They know that there's no more danger coming from the city that they invaded. So now they're taunting the people. And he literally took all their weapons. So they're helpless. They've already given up, and he's kicking them when they're down, you know. Well, I mean, honestly, that's the teaching of Jesus.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like literally turn the other cheek, you know, but he didn't say don't allow yourself to be trolled, which maybe he should have said.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe.
Like he's just saying, let him smack the other side of your face.
Well, and I feel like the surrender is such an important aspect in the journey as well.
Actually, when that makes sense. I mean, the surrender thing makes sense when we see the Fool down here, and we also see it's not just surrender, but it's surrender to where you are because everything you need is there.
Right.
You know, really utilizing the resources that you do have around you. But it is interesting how this really does kind of show the core teachings of Jesus and probably all of the other holy people.
Right.
You know,
Like Buddha. I
just haven't read all that shit.
Right.
Nor the Jesus stuff, to be honest. But I did get the core of his message, I think. Okay. So, then, if you ascend, what does that even fucking mean?
Right.
You know, do you just go into exactly the same place as this, only it shakes a little quicker? You know? Like, what does it even mean? For us who are listening to this and, like, in these fleshy human bodies, what does that even mean to ascend? Like, where do we go? So the Seven of Wands is about getting out of restriction. So this would basically mean we would move into a place with less restriction. There's another card that wants to come out, and it is the Star. So this is the blessing. Woo! When you sort of, the universe harmonizes with your desires. The great blessing of the universe. So if you ascend, you basically come out of the dark, scary woods and into a place that is wide open. Fewer restrictions, more wide open space. Now, wide open space can be scary for people who have been restricted for a long time. So anytime this card shows up, I always say, honor all the shit you did to get here and don't turn back around. Now, one thing that I'm kind of curious about, if there is an ascension, is there a descension? You know?
And could that be part of the timeline split?
Okay. So
now we're getting into it.
So let's just see, is there a descension? And we get the devil. So I would assume that that is a yes. So then the second question is like, is that a part of the splitting of the timelines that we're all seeing? Is it like some people ascending and some people descending? The Chariot. We do have one more that kind of wants to come out. So that's a card of abundance, the Nine of Pentacles. So we get the Chariot and the Nine of Pentacles. To the question of, is it an ascension combined with a descension of some people and other people that are causing the timelines to split? The Chariot, I would assume that the Chariot would be a yes to that, because this is very focused direction, right? And I'm not really sure what to make of the Nine of Pentacles here, but it's a card of abundance.
I feel so the Chariot has the horns here, similar to the Devil, and it's almost like the contrasting abundance and being able to live more freely and without as much restriction. Like you have more abundance to share, and then like the Chariot, it's yeah, it has the horns here, which just makes me think of the Devil, and they're kind of like contrasting energies of it.
Well, another thing about this, I mean, I kind of want to see because material wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we do the Nine of Pentacles, because it's a Pentacles card, it can speak of just very much material wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see if the material wealth or the material energy goes like against Ascension or what the deal is. And the card that comes out is the Lovers. So the Lovers is a union of two things. The Lovers is about commitment, completely giving yourself to a path. As long as your path is not a path where you would allow yourself to be trolled and where you have emotional control, then I don't think those two would necessarily be connected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like if you have material wealth or move yourself toward material wealth, I don't think that that would take you away from ascension or toward a descension. Um, I don't think that that would be the case because, I mean, the Lovers would show two different things that can kind of form a union, but also it's really about commitment, you know? And I would assume that any sort of ascension would really be about commitment to path and all of that. But yeah, the descension, I mean, at its core, the Devil is about possession and obsession. So you can see how the Devil would definitely be a different energy than the King of Cups, um, which is about being very fulfilled emotionally. The King of Cups isn't obsessed with anything and he's not possessed by anything. But the abundance comes very easily to him, you know, because he's so fulfilled and awesome. Interesting stuff. So at the end of the day, Ascension, real? Apparently it is. And can we do it? Yes, that's how we got here to begin with. Interesting.
Love it.
So if you have any comments or questions on this or other angles that I didn't hit this from, you know, feel free to leave a comment. And that's what we have for now. And peace